Gonna do a bit of a train fix video, I hope. So I got this new Lionel FM Trainmaster that was part of the post-war sets. Great set. But when I start this thing up, it's making this rattling noise that gets more intense if I blow the whistle. And then when the engine's running it, you hear this rattling noise. I'm going to start it up. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on video, but we'll see. And I've got 3 other versions of these new Trainmasters that don't do that. So, yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's this popping, vibrating noise. If I blow the horn, so I don't know what's causing that vibrating sound on the inside. I'm hoping that it's just something loose. Maybe the speaker housing is not tight enough, or maybe there's something else loose in there. So we'll open it up and see what's going on. Okay, so let's get this thing open. Like I said, I know it's making a weird sound because I've got 3 others of these new Trainmasters, and they all run perfectly. And so I know something's not right with how this thing sounds. And usually when you have vibrations, buzzing noises, it's usually because something just wasn't tightened enough at the factory. Something like that. It's usually an easy fix. Now, of course, as I'm making this video, I'm sure there's people watching this thinking, you shouldn't have to fix that. It should be perfect from the factory. And yeah, you're right. It should be perfect from the factory, but it wasn't. And so I'm going to fix it. So my response to that criticism is, you know what? I don't care. It's not a perfect world. And this is probably something I can fix myself, so I'm going to do it. In other words, I'd rather just fix it instead of whining about it and posting about it online and making negativity videos hoping to get views from my channel. I don't subscribe to that. I try to keep things positive and just fix the problem. So now that I've got the shell off, I'm going to restart it and see if that vibrating noise is still there. If it's not, then it means it's something loose on the shell that's vibrating and not within the engine itself, but we'll see. Yeah, it's still there. Maybe you can hear it better now with the shell off. Yes, it's coming from the speaker housing. So it's definitely coming from inside the speaker housing. So I'm going to undo that and check the condition of the speaker. I'm hoping it's just a piece of debris that got caught in there and it's vibrating around with that speaker, especially when you blow the horn and there's a lot of volume. It's vibrating around even more. So it's probably just a piece of debris, or at least I'm hoping that's what it is. Now, before I go to all that trouble, I'm going to take a flashlight and shine it into the speaker grill just to see if there's anything obvious that I can see that's in there. And I don't see anything that's obvious, so we'll go ahead and open it up. So I'm going to try going at this from the underside, and we'll just remove the fuel tank to expose the speaker. Okay. Now, the wire coming down to the speaker is in there, so I can't really lift it completely off, but I can kind of get a look in there. I don't see anything, but it's kind of hard to see in there. I can't get it all the way off because of the wires that are connected, so I'm going to put that back on temporarily, and we'll take off the speaker housing, but I got to take this board assembly off, so we'll do that first. Really helps to have a magnetic screwdriver. And by the way, before I disassemble this anymore, I'm going to take a picture of this assembly here so that if I have to disconnect any wires, I know where they go when I need to reassemble it. And I don't accidentally reconnect the wrong thing to the wrong thing. Although usually that's hard to do because the connectors are usually kind of idiot-proof, but still. All right, so I'm going to gently push that stuff out of the way. so I can access the speaker housing. I actually enjoy repairing my trains. I don't look on it as a burden or as a big pain in the butt. I enjoy it. Just like a guy who collects and works on cars enjoys working on the cars. All right, so there's this wire, or that pair of wires, and then there's another pair of wires right here. So I'm going to disconnect both of those. I got to cut this wire tie. All right, so we'll get that one out. That's for this. This is actually for the sound, and then this one is for the Lionel LCS sensor. And that goes, oh, where does that go to? I want to make sure it goes to a plug that's by itself. Yeah, it does. Okay. All right, there we go. So now we should be able to take the entire speaker housing off with the speaker. There we go. All right, so let's look in here and see what we got. Ah, yeah. See, look at that. See how the speaker is moving around a little bit? It's not tight in there. It should be tight, so there's no vibration. So I guarantee that's what's happening. It's a little loose in there, and when you blow the horn or when the bass from the engine is rumbling, you get that speaker vibrating around and making all that noise. So the solution should be pretty simple. We should just have to tighten these screws. There's 3 screws holding the speaker down, so let me see if they can be tightened first. And if they can't, we'll take other measures. Okay, this one looks like it could be tightened down some. Still moving around a little bit. See if I can tighten these other 2. Get them real tight. Yeah, that's getting better. Gotta put some muscle into it. There we go. Ah, there we go. That's nice and tight. That's not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to reassemble this whole thing, and then we'll power it up and see if it's any better. So I'll feed these wires through here first. And I want to make sure I don't pinch any wires. I want to get that on there nice and clean. All right, now that the speaker housing is back on there, I can reconnect these wires. So the sound wires go to this plug over here. The LCS sensor wire gets threaded through here, and then you're not going to be able to see this on the video very well, but there's a plug right smack dab in the middle of all this stuff. I'll try to zoom in and show you, but it goes right there in the middle. So now we'll put this plastic housing back on the speaker. I got to thread these wires through this little hole here. There's a little hole to let the wires go through. And I want to make sure these are nice and snug because I don't want the bass from that speaker. We just tighten those screws down there. I don't want this thing now vibrating because it's too loose. Certainly don't want to over tighten it, but you just want to make sure it's nice and snug. It's got a little foam gasket that helps seal it to the body. So that's what does most of the shock absorption for the bass and the sounds and so forth. Okay, so now we'll get these boards back where they need to be. There's a heat sink that needs to be secured down to the frame. And we've got this little sub board that needs to be attached, and that attaches to the speaker housing. All right, we got it all together. So the last thing I'll do is replace that wire tie that I cut off. I think that was right about here. And then we'll snip off the end. Like that. All right, we're back on the track, but before we replace the shell, let's test the fruits of our labors and see if it's any better. I don't hear any vibrating. and there's none when I blow the horn. That's great. That is music to my ears. That's how it's supposed to sound, yeah. None of that gosh darn vibrating. Now it's sounding perfect. All right, so we'll put the shell back on. Got to reconnect these plugs. By the way, this set of wires is for the rear lights, this set of wires is for the front lights, and this wire is for the antenna for the legacy signal. All right, so get everything down in there, make sure nothing's pinching. All right, we'll do one final test, but I'm 99% sure we're going to be okay. Yep, sounds beautiful.
Dispatch is going off duty. Have a good one. Out.
All right, so the problem is fixed in what, like 20 minutes, something like that? Less time than it would have taken me to go online and whine about it, and certainly less time than it would take me to call Lionel support or try to return it to the train store or something like that. All I had to do was literally tighten some screws, and that was it. And so that's why I'm always saying, if you're going to be in this hobby long term, you need to get okay with fixing your own trains and doing basic repairs on your own. Obviously, there's going to be some stuff you can't do where you're going to have to send it in to be repaired or return it or exchange it or what have you. But for simple stuff like this, it's nice to be able to do it yourself. It saves a whole lot of time and aggravation, and it's also fun and educational at the same time. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I'm Eric Siegel. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model or any other O-gauge model, or just to talk trains in general, check out the OGR online forum at ogrforum.com.